Hello there, and welcome back to another Irish Health Hour Chats. Today I'm joined by a lovely lady, Cheryl Meyer, and we're talking about a subject which is something I could talk about all day, and it's owning your own health. Cheryl's journey is absolutely wonderful. You know, it's gone full circle for Cheryl. She has such an inspiring story to tell us, and I am going to let her tell the story and not talk too much. Welcome, Cheryl.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here. And I also am very passionate about this subject.
And I know that. And of course, I met you because you're an author, and you're a best-selling author and an award-winning author, which I should have said, as well as being a health coach. And we met as authors in a group. So yeah, I mean, I have read some of the chapters of your new book, and I just absolutely resonate with so much you say. Yes, without further ado, Cheryl, let us know really how you got on this journey about telling people how to own their own health, because it has been quite a big journey for you, hasn't it?
It has. Well, I was an entrepreneur. I had my own jewelry business. I designed jewelry for big box companies and then manufactured it in China. I worked all the time. I worked 24/7. So when my toxic load started building up, I should have paid attention to it and I didn't. It just sort of flitted past my eyes so quick and I just kept going. I knew I had a lot of stress. I had friends pull me aside and tell me that wasn't such a good thing, but I thought it was making me get more done for my business. So I thought it was good to be chased by a tiger 24/7, and it wasn't because the tiger caught me. So there's something called toxic load that builds up in your body. And all of these little signs were that my toxic load was building up: rashes on one side of my face, or deodorant annoying me, or mascara making my eyes itchy and water. There were just all these little signs that something was going wrong with my body.
Mm.
Um, and then I woke up one morning and my lips and my tongue and my eyes were so swollen that I could almost not breathe. And that's when I started, something's not too good about this. And that ended up being fabric softener, which, by the way, is one of the most toxic things that can be in your life. So about 3 weeks after that, I still hadn't paid attention. About 3 weeks after that, I woke up one morning and I could not get out of bed. Literally, everything in my body hurt from head to toe. So I made an appointment. I went to a conventional doctor and she ran all kinds of tests, and then she ran more, and then she ran more, and then she called me and said, Cheryl, there's nothing wrong with you. I
Oh,
said, give me a break. There's something wrong with me. I hurt. I was not hurting before and I hurt now. She said, well, I'm going to give you steroids since you're complaining that you hurt, but what I really want you to do is seek therapy. I went, okay. I had a very seasoned staff, so I turned my business over to them and I dug in. I didn't even know what I was looking for, but I was not going to live a life of pain and pills, which is where the own your own health comes from. Because had I listened to her, I probably would still be bedridden and I would be miserable. And you do not have to live your life that way. I was lucky. I tripped across something that's going on here in the United States, and I think it's international, where I tripped into the functional medical community. And functional doctors are interesting because most of them became functional because they couldn't help themselves. They're all conventionally trained, but they went for further training when they got sick themselves and needed something that would work. And I listened to 19 different symposiums with multiple doctors. And they kept saying over and over again, leaky gut, and autoimmune disease. And I thought, God, do I have autoimmune disease? It sure sounds like it. And if I had leaky gut, what could I do about it? Well, I could reduce my stress and I could eliminate toxins in my life. So I have now learned 6 exercises that you can do in less than 3 minutes to let the steam off the instant pot as you go through your day so that your stress level does not build up to chronic stress, We all have stress. The problem's when we let it build. And what I love about these exercises is they send blood to my brain and improve
Mm.
my productivity. And then I dug into the toxins. And there's a giant website by a group called EWG, the Environmental Working Group. They put out a list here in the United States every year called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. If your vegetables and fruits are on the Dirty Dozen list, you don't go near it unless you buy them in organic. And if they're on the other side of the list, doesn't matter. You can knock yourself out. You can buy them organic or not organic. But I dug into their website where they have over 200,000 items listed and they rate them from 1 to 10. So
Wow.
I looked up literally everything in my life. If my item wasn't there, I looked it up by ingredients. And then I chose something much lower in toxins to replace it with, which was a little bit of give and take. But by the time I was done, 5 years later, I had eliminated hundreds of toxins from my life. I was appalled. My mascara was my face makeup was a French makeup, and it was a 9 on a 10-point scale. I was poisoning myself right through my face. Ends up cosmetics are not regulated in this country. Um,
So
I
much there,
stopped.
Cheryl. Yeah, I mean, so much there, so much to talk about. I mean, one thing that strikes me about you is that, you know, you made a big choice, obviously,
Did
to not listen to what the doctor told you. But like I'd say a lot of people wouldn't make that choice. So what is it about you that just felt that
uh,
it was more
um,
your gut instinct that told you, or is it just
two
that's your
things
personality?
actually. Both my parents had unusual illnesses. My
Okay.
father had a very rare form of epilepsy that nobody knew anything about. So even back when I was in college, I was doing research for him. And then he passed when I was in my early 20s, but my mother got something called multiple system atrophy, which at the time they thought was related to Parkinson's, and then they thought it was related to mad cow disease. And now that she has passed, they know it's not part of mad cow disease, but it has some similarities with it. I started getting into medical journals to figure out what I could find out about multiple system atrophy. And I would challenge the doctors, and they don't like being challenged here. But there were times when, we went through who's the doctor, who's the daughter. I said, humor me, let's try this. And so I knew that if I set my mind to it, I could find out something about what was going on with my body, and I knew something was wrong with me. So that was the first thing. But I came out of retail. I was a store manager for a large department store here, and we went to school every year twice with all the people from all over the country who were part of the corporation, and we took a course called something in excellence. And we talked about the who saids of the greatest magnitude, that we sort of accept that certain people are the who saids of the greatest magnitude. And we all accept our doctors as being in that category. We don't challenge them because they're who saids of the greatest magnitude. Well, I had learned they weren't who saids of the greatest magnitude. So when my doctor told me nothing was wrong, I just said, that's ridiculous. And I'm going to research and I'm going to find it. And after I released all the toxins, I actually found my own functional doctor. It was night and day. Every test she ran was different from my conventional doctor. And literally, she saved my life. But I had done so much cleaning up before I got to her that I helped the process along.
That's kind of
But
scary. Like that's going to, I mean, that's a scary fact in a lot of ways. That like
it is.
really, you literally took your health into your own hand. And I mean, not everybody would have had the journey before of having, you obviously had researched your own parents. It's like, but we do, as you say, we believe our doctors. So to think that if you hadn't taken this into your hands, you
Well,
had.
and one of the reasons I am doing what I'm doing now, because I sold my jewelry business and I'm out there writing books about this and doing podcasts and all of that, is because I want to empower people. I run into people all the time who have autoimmune disease like me, and they have been told the same things by their doctors. There's nothing wrong with you. Why are you complaining all the time? Why do you keep coming back when I just saw you? Guess what? Listen to your body,
Mhm.
own your own health, and use your own judgment, because you don't have to accept that, and they are not the who said of the greatest magnitude. You are.
And so, Cheryl, what is it about an autoimmune disease that doesn't show up something for a doctor? You know, are the symptoms are they mainly like? You tell me what it's like to suffer from
Yeah.
what you did.
I actually have a blog on my website, which I would recommend that everybody reads, which are the 20 things that are the hidden signs that you're not as healthy as you think you are.
Okay.
And they're silly things. I would look in the mirror in the morning. Some days I was very puffy and other days I wasn't. So I called them my good days and my bad days. That was inflammation. I had no idea. There were mornings when I got up and everything hurt. That was inflammation. There were mornings when I woke up with so much brain fog that until I had 3 cups of coffee, I couldn't function very well. Well, that's all part of inflammation. And so your body's talking to you. You have to start tuning in and listening to it, which is something I was not doing. I was so busy. I didn't have time to slow down to listen to what my body was saying to me. And when you get autoimmune disease, it's because your toxic load builds up to a point where it topples over the top. And when you topple over the top, you've crossed the line into disease. And I won't go into it all, but your gut is leaking. And so your body starts to attack itself. And when these food particles go through your gut that are too big, your body thinks that they're another part of your body wherever you're weak. For me, it was my muscles and my joints. For somebody else, it could be their thyroid and be Hashimoto's or Graves', or if it's your skin, that's it attacks where you are weak, and it goes into hyper mode, and it just keeps attacking. So you have to stop. You have to pay attention. And something that happens with people with autoimmune disease, if you don't clean up and heal your gut wall and heal your gut, you get something called multiple system autoimmune disease. Then you have Hashimoto's and you have fibromyalgia. You get more syndromes because the same mechanism that's making you sick is causing your body to attack more parts of your body. So yeah, autoimmune disease has been a really interesting thing. And believe it or not, there's 140 of them. They're all under one umbrella, and mine is called undefined autoimmune disease. I'm not normal. I joke that I got the Chinese menu of autoimmune disease. I have a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B and a little bit from column C, but it's a really hard disease to test for.
Okay.
And if you aren't using the right test, you don't see it. My doctors found out where my IGs were off, and they were off in my gut, and then they were off in my muscles. And so she could see that something was not functioning right with my body. But she also knew she heard the symptoms that I was telling her and didn't immediately try to let the pill come down the chute to cover it up.
But that's
she
the thing,
listened to me. Yeah.
With functional medicine, and I mean, we do have functional medicine in Ireland as well. And me as a therapist, even dealing on the emotional level, I'm very aware that it's not just. I mean, I have no problem with conventional medicine. We
need conventional medicine,
absolutely.
yeah.
But I think it's really when you start looking at the cause rather than, as you say, I mean, popping a pill that is a very generic one. It's not getting to the root cause. It's masking.
And functional medicine looks at the whole body because all the organs, all the systems work together. Yeah. And if you're not working together, your liver can't function properly if your pancreas isn't working. Yeah. So they have to look at the whole body. There is a brilliant book written by somebody who's an Aussie who's now living in New Zealand called Accidentally Overweight. She's a biochemist. And don't get put off by the fact that it's only about weight loss, because her book goes system by system and talks about how they interact with each other. So if you have these things wrong with your liver, these are the symptoms, this is what you do about it, and this is how that building block then fits in with your pancreas. And she goes through all the body and talks about all the different body parts and how they all have to function for you to have health.
Amazing.
And it's a wonderful book, and she's a very entertaining woman. You can even look her up on YouTube. Her second book was on the rushing woman syndrome, which God knows we all have too. But yeah.
Your first book, Cheryl. I mean, your first book is called "It Feels Good to Feel Good."
Yep. And this is really about my journey because I thought it was important for others to be able to read it. I talk about everything I learned, why I became a health coach, what a functional doctor is, what autoimmune is, what leaky gut is, what having a flare means, and then I go category by category and tell you where all the toxins were that I found, including what I call the toxins of the mind, which is stress, anxiety, toxic relationships, toxic lack of exercise. That's all part of it. For total health, you need to cope, and toxic lack of sleep. There's a new study out on sleep that's amazing. So
where did you, sorry for interrupting you there, where did you start in your journey? I mean, as you say now, I know it was a gradual, and you do say that to people, that it's a gradual process, obviously, because if it's impossible and not sustainable to knock out everything all at once. If somebody was listening to this now, what would you say to them that the biggest toxin that they should cut out right now, or could cut out right now?
In my opinion, at least here in the States, you need to start eating food that does not have chemicals on it.
Okay.
That means you eliminate the processed food, you eliminate the fast food. There is nothing in those foods that your body can use. And it's like a computer. If you put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out. And your body's amazingly resilient, but it reaches a point where it just can't cope with it anymore. So I would start with food. Now, does that mean all processed food is bad? No, but pretty much all fast food is. And you need to give your body nutrients. It was amazing when I started eating real food, how much better my body felt. And I started listening to my body. It really was sort of celebrating. It was what I should have been doing in the first place. And then once you start cleaning up your food, the next big step for me was taking a sensitivity test. You can do it by an elimination diet, but of course, I don't have any of the normal things that bother people. So I'm glad that I did it through the test. The test is a couple $100, and it was well worth it. I have 18 food sensitivities. And by eliminating my food sensitivities, I had instant relief from pain.
Wow.
It didn't eliminate all of it, but it was like night and day. I could function again. I had my brain back. I could sleep again. All of the stuff that had gone wrong with my body. And they were weird things. I had eaten so much chicken, I thought I was going to cluck. Well, I ate so much that it leaked through my leaky gut, triggered my immune system, and every time it saw chicken, it said attack. So I don't eat chicken anymore.
See, this is the thing now. That's very good, because I think that we can be, well, I know generally, like, you're told you may have sensitivity to dairy. We hear the dairy, we hear the wheat, we hear the things that are spoken about more often. But to hear that you had eaten so much chicken, I love the way you say it. I mean, that was actually causing you a problem. That's very interesting.
Mint and basil and sage, I would never have found that with an elimination diet. Never. Flax.
No, you did not.
Flax is supposed to be super healthy for you, not me. I can gain 7 pounds overnight when I eat something on my sensitivity list.
And is that kinesiology or something like that you did? The sensitivity?
Kinesiology? That's not something I'm real familiar with.
Yeah, so that just came to my mind when you said sensitivity. So what sort of a sensitivity test are you talking about? Is it something that your functional doctor did for you?
It's my functional doctor ordered it. She ordered it from a lab called Genova. I think it's the best test, but there is one now that you can order yourself. I actually ordered one for somebody who I did a summit with in England, and then we sent her the results. It's from Meridian Valley in Seattle, and if you order their test, you get 1 hour on the phone with their doctor explaining it to you so that you know how to read the test, because it is a little bit complicated. But what a difference it makes to your health to eliminate the things that you've built up the intolerance to. And the difference between an allergy and a sensitivity is an allergy is like peanuts. It can, bam, kill you right off the bat. And once you have an allergy, you have an allergy. It won't go away. A sensitivity builds up over time. It starts a slow burn, which is what inflammation is. The inflammation, it's from the sensitivity. It starts that slow burn, and if you stay away from it, you might be able to revisit it again sometime down the line. I haven't been so lucky. I would love to get cheese back because dairy is a huge sensitivity, but I react every time I go near it. So it's out. But I am using a little bit of mint and a little bit of basil again.
Right.
So after staying away from them for 7 years, I am slowly bringing them back in. But once you read your body, you know when you eat something that's triggering you. Plus, I see it on the scale, literally. I can go up and down between 4 and 7 pounds overnight when I'm around something I'm sensitive to.
That's interesting. So what is that that's doing that? That's like
It's triggering my immune response to kick
okay.
into overdrive. Now, I used to get a lot of pain with that. I don't so much get the pain anymore, but I'm also on a new pill called naltrexone, which was actually created in Iceland for people with opioid addiction. And they discovered in very, very small amounts, it helps people with fibromyalgia. And since one of my categories is that I have some things in common with fibromyalgia, by taking this pill, I don't have flares anymore. So if I eat a sensitivity, I'm not as likely to get pain because the naltrexone does something that blocks that response in my body. So it was like my last major step back to feeling normal, and it's huge.
Wow.
But I had cleaned up my whole, there's a group on Facebook that I belong to where they all are taking the pill, and it's not working so good for everybody else because they didn't clean up. They didn't clean up their gut. They didn't clean up all the toxins in their life. They haven't reduced their stress.
Mm-hmm.
They're still drinking alcohol, even though the pill says you shouldn't drink alcohol. Hey, I don't need the alcohol so bad. I'd rather not have the pain. So you can't just decide there's a magic pill because a magic pill does not exist.
So you're great at doing everything right. I mean, you're
Yep.
a great advocate, and you're saying like, well, that's fine if you want to have your alcohol or you want to, go back and eat something that will cause you. It's a choice. It's all.
It is a choice,
and it's not easy. Absolutely not easy. I know at one stage I went for a kinesiology. I would have gone for a test of to see was I allergic to something or my sensitivities, I suppose. And I was put off sugar and dairy both at the same time. And I actually cried when I realized that. I mean, I didn't realize there was sugar in baked beans even at that time. Because when I tried to take sugar out of my diet, I mean, there's nothing left really. It was a big wake-up call, and cheese was one thing too. I adore cheese.
Well, and cheese is addictive, sugar is addictive. You don't even know that you're being addicted to all these foods.
But I found a nice cheese now, the halloumi cheese, that I absolutely love it, and I can substitute that cheese, and I have no problem having it. So I think we can, I would be an advocate for that anyway. Try something.
If you have a cow cheese allergy, doesn't necessarily mean that you have goat cheese and sheep cheese.
And I don't. So yes.
I do. But there are some nice vegan cheese coming out that my husband and I are enjoying. And ends up, he took the sensitivity test and he shouldn't have been eating dairy either. So yeah, it's been kind of an interesting get well journey together because we are very supportive of each other. And my second book is going to be How I Live in Community. It's going to be How I Live in Community because my doctor told me her patients are not figuring out that part. I'm not giving up my friends because they eat the standard American diet, which is pretty crappy. And we aren't going near it, and that's really out of self-defense. So how do I still live in community and stay true to what's right for my body? So that's what I'm writing. How do you go to restaurants? How do you go out to family's house? I gave all my family cookbooks that they can cook from for me. How do you go to a friend's house? I've learned to take a dish, but I take some of it separately because if people have a choice of healthy food that tastes good, they'll eat it first. And I was ending up with nothing for me and nothing to eat because I couldn't eat the other stuff. So all of those little things. I have all of my sensitivities on a business card. So I call the restaurant before I go there, but when I get there, I hand my card to the waiter and say, go to the kitchen. They know I'm coming, and talk to him about what you can feed me and not run into any of these 18 items, and my picture's on it so they can find me when they come out of the kitchen so they remember who the crazy woman was who gave them the card. It's all these little things that make it, we travel back and forth to Sedona, which is a 8-hour drive. we bought a little refrigerator that plugs into the car so that we can stop and have our picnic. We don't need to go through fast food. I don't want to ever eat fast food again, and I would not react well to it. So it's all the little things we've learned so that we can stay true to our diet and not be deprived. That's a big question people ask me. Are you deprived? No, when I felt lousy is when I was deprived. Now that I'm eating well and I feel good, I am not deprived. I'm happy.
And it's great. I mean, your journey is inspirational, but your book is really like, it's great because it's sometimes we can read a book and it tells us we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't do that, but it doesn't tell us what then we can do. So your book is about how to live. And you talk about the farmers markets even, and you give, you give people the list of nearly what they need to get in order to eat for their health, which is great. And you're encompassing everything. I love that for that reason, because a self-help book needs to be something that we can digest.
And you can't do it all. And if you fall off the train for one thing that you do, you just move on. You don't worry about it. You don't beat yourself up, because that's going to cause stress, which is going to cause illness. So you do the best you can do. And, I have to do it because when I fall off, I pay for it. My body rebels. But if you just want to eat healthy, and there is a chapter now in both books on the blue zones, because I have a lot of healthy people who approach me when I talk and say, I don't have to eat this way because nothing's wrong with me. Well, it takes 20 years for toxic load to build up, so you don't even know what's going on in your body. And the blue zones are a National Geographic study of the 5 areas in the world where people live the longest. And they've come up with 9 things that these 5 communities have in common. And now they've rolled it out to 9 other communities in the United States as a test to see what happens to the people who live there. And they're the same things I talk about, but they're the things that will allow you to live well into your 90s, possibly into your 100s, without disease and without dementia. Wow, that's where I want to go.
Yeah, you're an inspiration, and I love now I know, talking to you so much, your illustrations are so perfect for your book. Like, that fun in you, you're very vibrant, and your book like that too. I mean, look at the background even that you have there.
Yeah.
It's just
That's
great.
my jubilant broccoli. I did the illustrations because people kept saying to me, I don't want to give up. I don't want to give up all the food you want me to give up. It's going to be depressing. Toxins are boring. They're not boring. They're something we got to get out, and they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Our government here in the United States is not controlling big business to protect us. And I'm now doing pet food. Oh my God, the government should be ashamed, because they won't even allow us to know what the ingredients are. They're totally protecting the pet food companies. So you have to own your own life. Just because the government isn't protecting us and they're allowing all those products to be sold to us, we need to join together and change it. The Institute for Responsible Technology says a 5% shift will start to change what is being manufactured, because they'll feel it. And in the 8 years I've now been working with this stuff, I've started to see little bits of changes in all the products. When I started, there was one cosmetic line I could find that looked okay on my skin. Now there's all kinds of choices. So I call it the army of one. If we join together, there was a guy in health, when I took my health coaching designation, called Howard Lyman, who talks about we need to all be an army of one. But if we join together, all of us little ones, to form an army, we can make an enormous difference. And we need to. In this country, 53% of our children have chronic illness. I find that totally frightening.
Wow.
So we've got to do something, and it's going to start grassroots with people understanding what our food and our products and our water are doing to our bodies and our health.
And that's it, isn't it? I mean, it's definitely with knowledge of it, and children do, because they see their parents doing something.
Right. My husband says they're little pitchers. Whatever you do pours right into their head.
Yeah. So I mean, if we start making healthy choices, it just becomes the norm. And I mean, I have 2 boys. I don't get it right all the time, but I am very conscious of, I'm very conscious, I make, and because myself too, I make my own skin cream out of beeswax and shea butter and that, because I flared up and I have, everything comes out through my face, big blotchy when I eat too much dairy, like you, like that. It's not because I've become someone that wants to become an eco warrior or whatever. It's because my body, I had to listen to my body. And when I made changes as well, my skin is better. And I wasn't just getting red, I was getting really big, soreness coming out through my skin. And that's, I think, when your body talks so loud like that, like you had your journey.
And it doesn't take long for your body to vote. So if you'll give it 3 weeks where you eliminate all the toxins in your food, your body's going to start to tell you that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I was fascinated that my body really wanted to heal. I just wasn't giving it any parts of the puzzle to put together to do that. And there's a whole thing in my new book about how often all your cells replace themselves.
Right.
Because they're constant, even your brain cells, they used to think whatever brain cells you got were the brain cells you got. No, they are replacing themselves too. It only takes 7 days for your gut lining to replace itself. And so, you can give it a lot of abuse and it keeps repairing, but there's a point at which your load gets so heavy it can't keep up. Whereas your skin will be 3 months. I don't remember what the exact number is, but if you don't give it quality building supplies, it has nothing to pull from to work with.
And I notice when if I'm away or whatever, if I'm bad with my skincare routine and I don't put on my own homemade one, my skin is my body is like, no, excuse me, it needs what it needs, and it lets me know.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, when is your new book out, Cheryl? I'm dying to share it with the world.
Well, the first book has been revised, and it's got a bigger umbrella for cancer, heart disease, and autoimmune now. And it got published, but something that Amazon did distorted all my illustrations. So it's about to go up any day. It will be on Amazon very shortly. And that's like the manual I wish I'd had when I first got sick. So that's the first book, and it's like the ground level, anything you would need to know to be well. The second book will be out, I'm hoping, by April 15th, because I'm shooting for the Smart Film Summit. And so, getting shingles slowed me down, but I'm writing the last chapters now, which are all on pets, because I love pets. And guess what? As much as I was dealing with toxins, my pet's food changed dramatically from my previous buddies, and I lost all 3 of them to cancer, which now, and the average lifespan now for a cat is 12 years and for a dog is 10. My cats used to live over 20. So I knew something had changed, and I want to talk about it. So I'm doing now a whole section on pets.
Oh my goodness, wonderful. So that'll be out in April. Well, when it is anyway, I'll add it to this. This will be on the website, this interview anyway.
Thank you.
And I'll put the link in as well. You can give me a link to your book, because I love what you're doing. Oh my goodness, it's just, it's phenomenal. People need it. People want it more than, they need it, but people want information, but they want information in an easy to understand way, and you're just giving this to people. You're giving honest,
and they don't want to be hit over the head. My first beta reader for my first book went through the kitchen and threw everything away that could possibly be a problem. Her husband almost had a heart attack. She threw away his favorite yogurt. You don't dictate to anybody else what they're going to do. They need to do it with you. So we had to talk about alternatives. What could he eat instead? And so it's a process. You can make decisions for yourself, but you can't make decisions for anybody else. And so you find ways where you're the example, and it happens by osmosis. Once you decide that you're going to live a different, clean life, then by osmosis, you bring other people along with you, but you don't dictate. I learned in retail, you push somebody, they're going to push back.
Yeah, so true. Cheryl, it's an absolute pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
I could talk all day to you. And I'm so glad I will get to see you in April in America.
I know, that's fantastic. So looking forward to that.
Looking forward to it. Anything you want to leave us with before we go, Cheryl? Anything?
Yeah, My big thing is listen to your body and own your own health. If you take that away from this time that you have spent with us, then my job has been done well, because you are responsible for your life. Nobody else knows how you feel but you. And don't let somebody tell you you're crazy or there's nothing wrong with you or you're going to be on a pill for the rest of your life. You do the research and you go back and have robust conversations with them, because you're responsible, not them.
Love it. Cheryl, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
Thanks for having
nice
me.
to have you. Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much.